So I'd like to welcome on stage Alfie, who has a story to tell. And it's 30 years apart. And there is similarities within our stories. Alfie, your microphone is on the stage. Please welcome Alfie.
Hi everyone, my name's Alfie Ricks, and this is my first time talking in front of this many people on stage, so I'm not really sure how it's going to go. I'm obviously a bit nervous. But I'm 16 years old, and I just want to tell you a bit about my story today and about the effects it's had on me and my family. And I think the fact that over 30 years, a lot of things have been bettered and fixed, but there's a lot of things that we still need to work on. And unless we all put our minds to it, we won't get the result we want. When I was 2 years old, I moved from England to Canada, where I actually grew up most of my childhood. Lived there till I was about 9 years old, and some of my fondest memories are probably there. You know, it was amazing. I remember the blue lakes and the mountain ranges, and it really felt like a community there, especially when you live in BC in the Rocky Mountains. You know, everyone knows each other. That was probably the most amazing times of my life for living there. But you know, when I was 9 years old, my parents had split up, and there was issues there over custody, and things started to slowly drift downhill when my best friend Liam passed away in a car crash, which added a lot of trauma to my life at a young age. I had to go to an open casket funeral, which, you know, imprinted in my mind, because at a young age, when you see somebody you love very dearly and you're talking to him and there's no reply, it's quite hard. Especially when a week after that, we were forced out of the country due to visa issues, and we moved back to England. And I was diagnosed with an aggressive osteosarcoma, which is a cancer that originated in my left leg, and I underdid 2.5 years of chemotherapy and during that, I actually lost my left leg due to it. And because of that, I was out of school for about 3 years, and I lost a lot of education, and I was quite vulnerable. I didn't have any friends. I felt very out of touch with the world, especially when I've come from another country and I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. So after I'd finished chemotherapy, I was rehabilitating during COVID time, so there was no help there. I had to do it myself, me and my family, and I was chucked straight back into school. And that's when I was bullied. I remember having my wheelchair pushed down the stairs and being destroyed by members of the school, which forced me to walk around on crutches for a day without my leg on, which was quite embarrassing. I remember constantly being called names because of my disability, which left me very vulnerable and very, very sad and seeking friendships. And because of that, I started to show off and misbehave to try and fit in, which I think a lot of people can understand at a young age. You want to fit in, you want to feel accepted, you want to have that friendship group that everybody wants. And that's what I was doing in my own way. I was just trying to be accepted by people. And I was encouraged by members of my school to do things that I wish I never did. And that resulted in a lot of trouble. And in year 9, I was kicked out of school, which is when a lot of my trouble started to happen. And I was kicked out of school, and I spent 11 months out of school due to COVID. And during that time, members of my school got in touch with me, the same people who got me kicked out, and they supplied me with drugs and alcohol, and told me that if I, you know, kept hanging out with them and kept being friends with them, they would stay with me, they would stay close to me, and they made me feel accepted and like I had a new family, as it were. And that meant a lot to me, because that's all I really wanted. And I think what needs to be understood is a child's eyes, when you are vulnerable, when you're going to be exploited, when you feel like no one loves you, you will take any love, whether it's unconditional or not. Because if someone's telling you that if you can do something for them, they will always be there for you, you're going to do it, because you want to feel like you're part of something, especially when you feel as alone as I did back then. And within a matter of months, I was carrying knives, I was dealing drugs for these people, I was going across counties, and all because I wanted to be accepted by them. I remember needing to sleep in trap houses with them. I remember standing across the street as gang members held knives and screamed at each other. And this all happened when I was 14 years old. And I remember things got so bad at one point that my home life was almost non-existent. I was never home. I was always out. It got so bad that my own father had me arrested because there was no trust there because of what I did, because of what I was convinced to do by these people, because of how it went. There was just no trust. There was no communication, and things fell apart so rapidly. I now can't see my mum unsupervised due to issues. I can't speak with her without 2 members of social services in the room. It got so bad that I was getting myself in and out of trouble, but this entire time, social services weren't telling me what was happening. No one looked at me and said, "You're being exploited, you're involved in county lines." Obviously, I was told that I was involved with trouble, but I knew that. I wasn't stupid. I was naive, but I wasn't stupid. I knew I was involved in trouble, but I didn't understand how far that went. And I feel like if someone was honest to me at that point, it wouldn't have gotten as bad as it did. But they weren't honest, and it got to the point where, like I said, I got arrested, and I was bailed to my mother's house for the first time, and I lived with her for over 3 years. And during that time, things got even worse. I almost spent every night in a house that I didn't know. I spent every night moving from house to house with drug dealers and gang members, all of which were 17 to 21 years old. And this whole time, I was just going day by day because I didn't understand how bad things were getting. I got addicted to smoking a lot of cannabis. I was starting to use cocaine. And keep in mind, I was 14 years old. I didn't understand any of these things. About a month after I moved in with my mum's social services, and a secure escort showed up at my house and took me to a secure unit down in Cumbria called Aycliffe Secure, which is funny because I didn't know that was somewhere where you went.
Yes, indeed.
And this is a secure unit where I was put on a welfare charge, and I was put in there on a welfare and county lines and gang involvement charge, which wasn't a criminal charge, but I was put in the same place where there were criminals. This, I don't know if it's changed since you've been there, but it's a YOI now as well. So I was put onto a unit, originally 4 kids there for welfare, but within my first week there, I'd been in 3 fights. I almost had my nose broken. I was kicked and I had a chair thrown at me. I had staff needing to shove me into a room and restrain me against a wall so that kids couldn't get to me. All because of I didn't know what it was because of my disability, because I didn't fit in, because I was different. It happened. And within 2 weeks, they had to move me from this unit onto a different unit in Aycliffe Secure. And on this unit, I had to spend 7 months with drug dealers. There was people there for manslaughter. There was people there for armed robbery. There was lads there for burglary charges and on remand for stealing cars. There was lads there for arson. And all of this, I went in that secure unit, a naughty kid, but I was naive and stupid, and I went in there not understanding what was happening, and I came out 10 times worse than I was when I went in there, because I had to live with these people. I had been constantly through fights every single day. I saw somebody have their eye popped out their socket. There was people there that got so badly beaten up that they had plastic surgery all down the side of their face. I was in my room all the time because I was scared to go out, and then when I did go out, I'd get into a fight, and I came out and I was completely different. I knew what was happening more, but I felt even more alone than I ever did. Because the entire time I was in there, I wasn't allowed to speak to my family unsupervised. I didn't have any friends. And I went in there and I was so isolated from the world that when I returned back to the community, I craved the relationships I had more than ever. I craved needing to connect with those people even more, because I felt even more discriminated against than I ever have. And within a couple of weeks, I was right back at it with those people, because I was alone, and those people got in touch with me. They found me, and they went, "Oh, we haven't seen you in a while. We missed you." They were the only people that said they missed me. And because of that, I started hanging out with them again. Slowly, it picked back up. bit by bit. Got myself into even more trouble. I was arrested under suspicion of burglary at one point, and it's because I just wanted to be accepted, and because of the labels that were put on me and the way people viewed me. And my story isn't even close to the worst out there, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. And the truth is that there's so much pain and hurt out there every single day. And there's so many people in this world that all they long for is to be accepted and listened to and cared for. And the only love that county lines and people who exploitate can't give, the only love that we can give, the only care that we can give victims of this, that nobody else can, is unconditional love. That means that we got to be there for them no matter what. We need to speak to them no matter what. We need to make them feel like they're special, and they need to know that they can rely on us instead of on gang members. Because in my opinion, it's pretty messed up that people feel so lonely and sad and so alone that the only people they feel really connected to is gang members and criminals. And that's the truth, and it's a really sad truth, and we are doing as much as we can, but for hundreds of thousands of people out there, it's not enough. Just in London alone, there's over 6,000 kids involved in exploitation, and kids as young as 6 years old dealing Class A drugs around the city. Gang stabbings are higher than they were 10 years ago. You know, county lines didn't become a massive thing until about 40 years ago. It wasn't as big as it was, and now it's absolutely massive. And that's because of how much damage is being caused by the people doing the wrong things. We need to be there for the people. We need to support them. We need to make them feel listened to. And that's the only way we're ever going to get to the bottom of this problem. It can start in school. It can start from a younger age. It can start anywhere. But we need to do something to change that. I think money needs to be funneled into re-educating teachers and schools onto how to support kids who are vulnerable, because I know that I didn't get any support when I was in school. And I know that if I had that support, maybe it wouldn't have gone as bad as it did. We need to put money into making kids in school feel like they're worth something. Because if you give a kid aspiration and you make them feel like they can do what they want to do, they won't get involved with this trouble. It's feeling like you can't do anything else that gets you into trouble. It's feeling like you can't go anywhere else in life. It's the feeling of loneliness and that there's no hope for you. If you're told every day that you're a liar, you're a thief, and you're going nowhere, eventually you're going to believe it. But if you're told every day that you're loved and you're believed in and that you can do whatever you want, you're going to do it. And that's as simple as it comes down to at the end of the day. I can say right now that Secure Unit didn't do anything for me but make me worse. But I spent a month in a respite centre called Cumbrian Outbound. 1 month in that respite centre, my entire output on things changed, because in that time I was with people who cared about me. I went out every day. I spent time. They showed me what the pros of being a good person. They didn't show me they didn't give me punishments for being a bad person. And because of that, my mindset changed, and I came out of that respite centre after 1 month, and I've done everything I can to get where I want to be ever since. So 7 months in a Secure Unit only made me worse. 1 month in the respite centre made me better. That's because of the different kind of care and support you get. Right there, we need to stop criminalising kids all the time for not being able to know any better and not being able to do better things. We've got to stop punishing youth for not being able to disassociate with members of county lines when they feel like nobody else could possibly accept them for who they are. It's vulnerability that it comes down to, but vulnerability is a broad spectrum, and we can never pinpoint why somebody is specifically vulnerable, but all we can do is make them know that there's other people out there for them besides county lines. It's everywhere now. I know for a fact that I can walk down the street, and because I've seen the other side of the coin, I can see on every street corner there's a risk. It's everywhere. Nobody is ever safe from exploitation. Anyone can be vulnerable to it in one shape or form. It's not one person who's vulnerable. We're all vulnerable in one way or another. But together, if we all put our heads together, we can fix this problem before it gets too late. And I think I had a huge speech written for this, but I left it at home and I can't remember a single word of it.
You've done well.
So I've just tried to go off what I can remember, but I think it's really important that we can, like you said, we need to think out the box.
Yeah, we've got
because what we're doing is it's working, but I think we can do a lot more.
Yeah, there's a shared scene here with both myself and Alfie. We both ended up in a secure unit for one reason or another. I was wrongly convicted of an offence purely because I was with an abuser who basically forced me into prostitution, and he created a fire which got out of hand. He had arson on his record, and finally, after 4 years, I was placed into Aycliffe Centre for my own protection. An innocent person put into a secure unit with a lot of wrong people. I was raped the first night I went in there. And I was told by the staff not to approach the police, that their sentence wouldn't be increased. So I was left again, helpless in that place. I survived it. I saw things in there that would really make you sick. Children turning on members of staff with pool cues, pool balls. On one night, 2 children beat 2 members of staff up really badly. And at 13 years old, I was triaging 2 members of staff who were bleeding from the head. That's not a place for a child, especially not an innocent and vulnerable child. And we have a common theme of people not communicating with kids, people not listening to kids. I was trying to tell the police, social services, everything that I was going through. But because of Section 28, they used it as an excuse just to say, no, sorry, you're just using that as an excuse to get out of this or to get out of that. They weren't listening. If somebody just listened and if somebody did their job properly, we wouldn't be talking today about this. But you've done well.
Thank you. I think you got it better than I did, but that's exactly what it's just. It comes down to being listened to and feeling like somebody is out there caring about you.
Yeah.
And that's what exploitation has that so nobody else can seem to get. They make the kid feel listened to, and it's a lie, but that's the kids believe it's true because they want to believe it's true.
Yeah. And some places aren't safe for children either. My abusers were living in the home with me, so that was inescapable. I couldn't get away from it. If you're having that much peer pressure on you, no amount of trying to stop it in there will do anything. You need to move children from those areas and move them away from it. I was asking that for 4 years, and it finally happened when somebody else did something that really could have damaged people's lives even further. So please, speak to children, listen to those children. If they have concerns, act on those concerns. Please, don't let bullying go out of hand. Don't tell a child to ignore bullying because that's the worst advice you can give. Ignoring it just makes it worse. So it's on you guys to do something about this.
We need to urge people to show vulnerable children the pros of being a good person, the pros of being honest, and the pros of doing the right thing instead of punishing them for not being able to know the difference because of the people they can't disassociate with. It's not their fault. Somewhere down the line, someone's done something to leave those people with trauma, or somewhere down the line, something's happened to them that has left them feeling so alone that they have nobody else to depend on. We need to give them something else to depend on, not punish them.
If you need a learning tool, my book is perfect for that. It's done specifically to show you what happens from a very early age right the way through to adulthood. Every moment that that child has suffered bullying, that's been let down, exploitation, criminalization, is all in there. It's a training tool for you to look and learn from. Thank you.
Thank you.